Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Sara Lubratt and today I'm going to be showing you guys the footage that I took when I went to a bookbinding class. So as I've mentioned before a couple of times, I do live in Dallas, and so I visited the Craft Guild in Dallas to take one of their bookbinding classes, and basically ended up making, I need to go get it, but I ended up making a book or a journal. And so basically at this class we got to make journals, and so this is mine. This is what it turned out to look like. I still have to cut these things off, the leftover ribbon, but basically this is how we ended up making them. The first step in this process was picking our materials, and so the signatures, which are each of these pieces of paper, that's well, not pieces of paper. A signature is 8 sheets of paper but 16 pages by using front and back. And then we got 9 signatures. Yeah, there's 9 there. So basically the materials that we needed to make these were the signatures. We had to pick a front and back, but a piece of paper, and that's a thick, nice, almost like a cardstock for the front and back to make our covers. So we had the signatures, the paper, we had to pick our color thread, and the ribbons to do our decorative pieces and to make the bindings to hold the book together. So then once we had all of these pieces, the first step in the process was gluing these, or making our covers. And so gluing these to a piece of cardboard. It was I wish I'd gotten footage of it. I had missed that part, but what we did was glued the decorative side first so that the white sheet would cover up all of those seams and everything, just in case something was uneven, and then just made it look a lot cleaner. And then while we moved on to the next step, they put it in a press to make sure that they all dried flat, because we were using glue, and glue can wrinkle the paper and stuff. And next we ended up moving on to working with the signatures, or these pieces of paper. And so the tool that we used to puncture holes in the signatures to make these holes here is called an awl. And we were each set up with these cardboard troughs. One of them was wooden, but a trough where it props the signature open, which is the 4 pieces of paper that fold into the 8, which is the 16 pages. But it lays open so that it's the 4 creases. And then what you do is you take this awl, AWL, which is also used in leather working to puncture holes. So saddle making and stuff, that's what they do to puncture holes to sew them. But then you use an awl to puncture through the various points on the paper where we had marked how far apart we wanted our ribbons to be. And so it for example, up here we had to poke a hole up here and then down here so that when we threaded this, the ribbon could go through it nicely. And you had to make sure that they were all happening on the same side and have been measured properly so that they do line up all nice and flat in the final product. And what happened next is that we took the thread of our choice and ran it through some beeswax to make it stiffer and more tough and durable, I guess. I'm not 100% sure about that one. I should have asked, but I forgot to. And then when you threaded the beeswax covered thread through the needle, then you looped the thread back over itself and pierced the thread with the needle itself to make a really fine knot right the base of the needle, which made sure that you didn't lose the end when you were sewing through the paper. So that was really interesting. Did not think about that one beforehand. Thought that was a cool technique. I was not expecting that. And then what happened next was each of us was set up with they had all kinds of tricks and tools for us, but each of us was set up with a wooden block where we would lay a signature down. We started with one, and then we started running the thread through the holes in a specific sewing order so that it would hold the ribbon hinges nicely, because the only thing that is holding the cover to the rest of the paper and stuff is the ribbon, which is interesting. I chose to do 5, somebody else chose to do only 3. It was recommended that you did between 5 and 3. It was just like, it was cool. And then in sewing them together is how the paper stays connected, because it was like one long piece of thread. So you would go like down one way in one, and then like loop back a little bit, link it to the next loop, and then go the other way and do that same thing, and then move back with the next one. And here you can see how the ribbons laced through the thread. It was really starting to come together here. And one of the key parts that they told us to make sure that we were doing was keep the thread really tight, because otherwise you would get a really loose book. And after the signatures were all sewn together with the ribbons, the next step was to glue the ribbons to the covers that we had made earlier. I started out by watching our instructor show one of my classmates this technique, and then ended up following it with my own. Something else I thought was really interesting was we ended up using like 3 different kinds of glue. I don't remember what 2 of them were, but one of them was like a PVC glue, which I just thought was like interesting. I hadn't thought that like the different pieces in this would need different kinds of glue. Like this one had to be like a less water-based glue because this like white sheet of paper is really thin, and then like this one could use like a tougher glue because it was it's a tougher sheet of paper, and then you had to use something, the PVC glue like I'm doing in this clip, to glue down the ribbons. While gluing down the ribbons to my cover, we were using bag weights. Mine was leather. I did not get to pick it. This is what I was handed, to hold down the cover and the signatures to make sure that everything stayed straight while we were gluing. And then as I started to see it come together, I got really, really excited.
So what we got here is there's one cut here,
And after it was all done and dried, my instructor sealed it in some parchment paper, or not sealed it, but like made sure that all of the wet glue parts were covered in parchment paper so that I could take it home, make sure that it dried under not too heavy of a book, but to like make sure that everything again dried flat, which I did a really good job of. And I still again have to trim off these things, but left me with a really beautiful journal that I don't know what I'm going to use it for because I don't want to mess it up. I just made a freaking book. That's so cool. Gotta say though, making a book in 3 hours is a lot more, it feels like right now a lot more satisfying than like writing a book in like 3 years. It's much more of that immediate payoff. All right, y'all, that's it for me today. Make sure you leave a like down below if you enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave a comment. I would be very curious if you would ever try something like this, if you're gonna look for a bookbinding class in your area, or you're gonna have to help me out. What do you use journals for? And then if you're still here and you are not yet subscribed, I would really appreciate you clicking down below and hitting that subscribe button, because I post new videos every Monday and sometimes Thursday. Bye.